Have you ever wondered why, even when you're doing everything right, life can still feel heavy? You work hard, stay kind, chase goals, and yet something feels off, as if a quiet weight presses on your chest every day. That heaviness doesn't always come from what's missing in your life. More often it comes from what shouldn't be there at all. The Stoic philosophers Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus understood this centuries ago. They taught that peace of mind is not achieved by adding more possessions, achievements, or recognition. Instead, peace is found by removing what disrupts the stillness within. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you seek tranquility, do less, or rather, do what's essential." His point was simple. Simplicity is strength. When your life becomes cluttered with unnecessary desires, opinions, and distractions, your mind loses its calm center. Think about it. Most people chase happiness by adding more success, more approval, more attention, more stuff. But the Stoics flipped that logic completely. They believed real happiness is subtraction. It's not about what you gain, it's about what you let go of. Because the more you eliminate what drains you, the more your true self begins to breathe again. Imagine your mind as a lake. Every external opinion, every argument, every regret, every fear, it's like throwing stones into the water. The more you let these things enter, the more ripples disturb your reflection. But when you stop letting those stones in, when you protect the stillness of your inner lake, everything becomes clear. That's the Stoic way of life. Clarity through calm, peace through discipline, strength through letting go. But how do you actually apply that wisdom in the real world? How do you live quietly, calmly, while everyone else is loud, reactive, and restless? The answer lies in what you're willing to remove. Silently, without drama, without announcing it to anyone. There are things we hold on to that don't serve us anymore. Old fears, draining relationships, the constant need to prove ourselves. We cling to them because they're familiar, but familiar isn't always good. The Stoics remind us that most suffering is self-inflicted, not by what happens to us, but by how tightly we grip the things that should have been released long ago. Epictetus said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And he was right. The battles that exhaust us the most are the ones fought inside our own heads. The arguments with our past, the comparisons with others, the invisible pressure to meet society's expectations. We lose peace because we've filled our lives with unnecessary mental noise. That's why the first step to true transformation isn't loud, it's quiet. It happens when you begin to remove, not react. You stop explaining yourself. You stop responding to every comment. You stop chasing validation. You stop apologizing for changing. You begin to move in silence, not because you're weak, but because your peace is no longer negotiable. Marcus Aurelius also said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." That's the essence of Stoicism: control what you can control. Your mind, your reactions, your energy. Everything else is noise. You can't control people's opinions. You can't control their behavior, but you can control what you allow into your mental space. And when you start eliminating the unnecessary, your power returns. You see, silence is not emptiness. In Stoic philosophy, silence is strength under control. It's the calm of a warrior who knows his purpose. When you learn to eliminate quietly, you develop inner discipline, the kind that no one can see but everyone can feel. You no longer need to announce that you're cutting someone off, that you're setting boundaries, or that you're done explaining your worth. You simply act differently, and over time that quiet shift changes everything. Because growth doesn't always look like loud success. Sometimes growth looks like staying silent when you used to argue. It looks like saying no without guilt. It looks like walking away without revenge. That's the power of elimination. You stop feeding what drains your energy. Every time you hold on to something that doesn't align with your peace, you pay for it, with your focus, your mood, and your time. The Stoics believe that time is life's most sacred resource. Once wasted, it never returns. Seneca warned, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." And how do we waste it? By worrying about what we can't control, by replaying the past, by living for approval. But you have a choice. You can begin to quietly eliminate what doesn't serve you. The noise, the comparisons, the drama, the overthinking. You don't need to shout about it or justify it. The most powerful transformations happen in silence. As you walk this path, remember, letting go is not weakness. It's wisdom. When you eliminate what's false, what remains is truth, and truth never needs to shout. So as we move forward in this journey, we'll explore the 4 key things you must remove to reclaim your peace, starting with the need for approval, the poison of comparison, the people who drain your energy, and the weight of the past. One of the most silent but powerful traps in life is the need for approval. It hides behind every decision you make, every word you speak, and every step you take. It whispers, "What will they think of me?" before you even act, and without realizing it, you start living a life designed not by your inner truth, but by other people's expectations. The Stoics understood this danger deeply. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor, wrote in his Meditations, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Think about that. You were born with your own purpose, your own path, your own voice. Yet you give that power away the moment you begin to shape your identity around how others see you. You post something and wait for likes. You make a choice and wait for approval. You achieve something but only feel proud if others recognize it. That's not freedom, that's slavery in disguise. The Stoic mindset teaches that true peace comes from self-approval, not public validation. A Stoic does what is right, not what is popular. They follow reason, not applause. They know that external opinions change with the wind, but inner integrity remains unshaken. When you seek approval, you surrender control of your emotions. Suddenly your self-worth becomes conditional. You're happy when praised, crushed when criticized, and lost when ignored. You start performing, smiling when you don't feel like it, agreeing when you disagree, and apologizing for simply existing as yourself. Epictetus warned against this kind of dependence. He said, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." That is the heart of Stoic courage, to live your truth, even if others don't understand it. Because here's the secret. Most people don't even know what they want for themselves, yet we let their opinions dictate our direction. Ask yourself, how many dreams have you delayed because you feared being judged? How many truths have you swallowed just to fit in? How much peace have you traded for the illusion of being accepted? The Stoics would tell you that living for approval is a form of emotional imprisonment. You chain your happiness to something unstable, the ever-changing opinions of others. But real power begins when you decide that your worth is not up for public vote. He ruled an empire, yet his wisdom applies even to our modern lives. He knew that the need for approval leads to restlessness, because when you depend on others to tell you who you are, you lose the ability to hear your own voice. The Stoic way is quiet confidence. It's the calm assurance that what you're doing aligns with your values, even if no one applauds you. It's knowing that you are enough, even when the world doesn't notice. Think of a mountain. It stands tall and unmoved by the winds that blow against it. People can praise it or criticize it, but the mountain remains still, rooted in its essence. That's how you must live. Unshaken by opinions, grounded in your principles. You don't have to shout your worth. You don't have to convince anyone that you're on the right path. The Stoic way is quiet, disciplined, and strong. Your actions will speak louder than any explanation ever could. But how do you eliminate the need for approval in practice? Start with awareness. Notice how often your mind seeks validation. Catch yourself when you think, "What will they think if I do this?" Then pause. Ask instead, "What do I think of this?" That simple shift of focus changes everything. Next, accept that disapproval is inevitable. No matter what you do, someone will always misunderstand, criticize, or dislike it. That's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of human diversity. People see the world through their own fears and insecurities. So why should their opinion carry more weight than your truth? Then practice silence. You don't need to defend every decision. The Stoics believed that silence protects your energy. Every time you explain yourself to those who are not ready to understand, you drain the strength meant for your own journey. Finally, choose inner standards over external validation. Judge yourself not by others' reactions, but by your own integrity. Did you act with honesty? Did you remain calm? Did you stay true to your values? If yes, then you've already succeeded, no matter what anyone says. Seneca wrote, "What progress have I made? I have begun to be a friend to myself." That's the ultimate goal, to become your own ally, not your own critic. When you no longer need others to confirm your worth, you rise above their control. You start doing things out of love, not fear, out of purpose, not pressure. And here's the beautiful part. Once you stop chasing approval, you start attracting genuine respect. People sense your calm confidence. They feel your grounded energy. You become someone who doesn't seek attention, but commands it naturally, quietly, effortlessly, stoically. The moment you stop performing for others, your mind becomes free, free to think clearly, free to act boldly, free to live truthfully. Remember, the applause of the crowd fades quickly, but the peace of self-approval lasts a lifetime. So walk your path with quiet strength. Let your actions be your voice. Comparison is one of the quietest poisons in modern life. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It whispers every time you scroll through social media and see someone younger achieving more, someone richer smiling wider, or someone more confident living the life you think you should have. And before you realize it, your peace begins to shrink. Your achievements feel smaller, your pace feels slower, and your gratitude fades into envy. The Stoics saw this weakness long before social media existed. Seneca once said, "He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have." That simple line holds timeless truth. When you build your happiness on comparison, it will never be enough, because there will always be someone doing better, faster, or louder than you. The Stoics understood that the moment you compare your path with someone else's, you lose sight of your own. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "You have power over your mind and not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Comparison is focusing on outside events, other people's timelines, looks and lives, things beyond your control. And when your happiness depends on what you can't control, suffering becomes constant. The Stoic mindset reverses that completely. Instead of looking outward, it trains you to look inward. Ask yourself, why do I compare? Most of the time it's not admiration, it's insecurity. When we feel lost within, we measure ourselves against others to find meaning. But the truth is, you can't measure progress in a life that's uniquely yours. Your story, your timing, your struggles, they all belong to you alone. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." That means stop competing for appearances. The Stoic doesn't live for image. They live for inner excellence. When you compare your journey with others, you're judging yourself by a standard that was never meant for you. It's like comparing the sunrise to the stars. Both shine, but in their own time and space. Think about a tree. It doesn't compete with the one next to it. It grows at its own pace, reaching for sunlight when it's ready. It doesn't rush, it doesn't envy. Yet humans, blessed with reason, often torture themselves by measuring their worth against others. And in doing so, they destroy their inner calm. The Stoic way is different. It tells you to admire without envy and to observe without comparing. When you see someone succeeding, let it inspire you, not wound you. Learn what you can, but never feel small because of it. You're not behind. You're simply on a different chapter of your journey. Comparison blinds you to your blessings. It turns your focus from gratitude to scarcity. You stop seeing what's going right and fixate on what's missing. But the Stoics remind us, peace begins where desire ends. When you're content with what you have, you gain control over your mind. When you chase what others have, you lose it. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." That means your challenges are not punishments. They're your training. The Stoic doesn't compare struggles, they embrace them. Because every obstacle, every delay, every rejection is shaping something strong inside you. Someone else's success doesn't take away yours. The universe is not short of opportunities. It's only waiting for your patience.
Here's what happens when you stop comparing.
You start focusing. You start improving. You start noticing progress where you once saw lack. When you compare yourself less, you compete with yourself more. And that's where true mastery begins. Each day becomes a battle not against others but against your own weaknesses. You strive not to be better than them, but to be better than you were yesterday. That is Stoic strength, quiet, humble, and unshakable. But how can you practically eliminate comparison? First, limit the noise. Be mindful of what you consume. If social media constantly reminds you of what you lack, then distance yourself. The Stoics practiced something called voluntary simplicity, choosing less so they could feel more. You don't need to see everyone's life to build your own. Second, practice gratitude every day. Write down 3 things you have that others might be praying for. Gratitude destroys envy because it turns your attention from scarcity to abundance. Third, redefine success. Society tells you success is fame, wealth, and recognition. But the Stoics defined success as living in harmony with virtue and reason. It's not about being seen. It's about being steady. And finally, focus on your lane. Your timeline is sacred. The Stoics knew that comparing lives is like comparing Seasons, each unfolds in its own time. Your season will come, but not if you're too busy watching someone else's. When you truly absorb this, peace returns. You stop competing. You stop rushing. You stop resenting. You start breathing again. You begin to realize that the only real competition is the person in the mirror. Your goal is not to be better than others, and it's to be more disciplined, more calm, more present than you were yesterday. That's what the Stoics meant when they said, "He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior." So let go of useless comparisons. Celebrate others without losing sight of yourself. Learn from them without copying them. Admire their path but walk your own. Because in the end, no one is ahead or behind, and we're all walking different roads, under the same sun, at different speeds.